What's up, beautiful people? Kit Cummings live from PowerPiece Studios on the Square in Marietta. Kit's Q&A. This one comes from the question posed yesterday. Would you get a tattoo? If not, why not? And if you want to, post a pic. It was a 50, 60 comments, something like that. Almost all of them in the beginning were no way, and we had, no, I hate needles, I'm afraid of the process. Here, I love this one. I've seen what happens to a tattoo after 10 to 20 years. That cute mermaid becomes a malformed carp. Tracy Coles. Scott Kennedy, he says, love my ink. It's a conversation starter to my veterans network and a reminder of my service work. So those that hate on tattoos, there's a really good one. Tommy Slappy said, no. And I also wouldn't put a bumper sticker on my Lamborghini. I love that one. Some were like, it's an abomination unto the Lord, so there was some, it was good. Y'all didn't fight on this one, which was kind of cool. But, so, I don't know. I wasn't a tattoo guy for a long, long time. And then you have kids. And I started thinking, man, I want to have one, represents my kids. So yeah, I got my first one right here. And then it was like, well, I have to honor my family. And so it was my parents and right there. And then it was like, man, I got to do something for my wife. So that one was in the middle. It's a bit addictive. But nobody can see those, right? And then one for my city. So on my back, I've got an ATL for my town. I've got one for my wonderful wife. I've got one for my parents, one for my kids. So I got my family on my back. I thought that was it, right? And then I started this crazy work, the PowerPiece Project. And it was when things started happening in our first prison, Hays State Prison. I did one, I don't know if you can see this, but I did that one right there in honor of them. It's a broken peace sign, has 40 on it, surrounded by significant dates. And this was to the 12 guys, white with blue stripe, that put their lives on the line to try to see if this would work. And that's how Power of Peace Project was born. Well, then I started traveling around. I took it to other states and ended up taking it to four continents, traveled 40 of the 50 states, and gosh, over the years, probably 16, 17 countries, 4 continents, just peace, preaching peace. And so I started doing when I'd go to somewhere significant, I would put it on there. So when I went to Ukraine, did Russian prison, I did it like that. And then, obviously, I don't know if you can see the one I follow. I don't even know if you guys could see what I'm showing you. But anyway, so it was like the story began to develop, but this is when it got cool. I would go in, since I did it for the first inmates, if we were doing a prison or a school or a community and we had a group of people that were setting out to try this 40 days of peace thing and to live like Gandhi, King, Mandela in the toughest places, I would say, you give me 40 days and do something significant, and when I come back, I'll have a surprise for you. And I'd come back and I would have them on my arm and they'd go nuts. They thought, man, dude's crazy, he's getting tattoos of us. And so I would say, like right here, it's Mighty Men of Muskegon. And so I would tell them, rightly so, I'd say, there's no way I'll ever forget you because I look at you every single day. And so it went up and it went around, and back here was Tijuana, and then it was just the books that had been written and the different things. And anyway, it became kind of my thing. Well, I ran out of room, and my wife said, all right, you can't get any more. I was like, please, just one more. Because I had one more I had to do for the kids, because now it's all about prevention, trying to keep kids from that horrible day. And so she let me get one more, and it's right here, and this is about the kids, about interrupting and redirecting misguided youth that are on their way to trouble if we don't get to them. And so this one is kind of the final one, unless I one day talk her into it. But happy wife, happy life. But let me give you 2 significant things that these tattoos did for me. One was on death row in Louisiana. There was a young brother, and he wasn't listening to any of the Christian volunteers. They were walking along, and they were reading scripture into the cell, and he was just kind of glaring at them. He wasn't trying to listen to them. So I came in behind him, and I just chatted up a conversation with him. Actually, it was about Kim Kardashian picture on his wall. So I started talking to him. Hey, what's up? She doesn't look like that anymore. She's pregnant. Whatever. And we started talking. He came over, and he hadn't shook anybody's hand. But it was because I think I was just talking to him that he reached through the bars and I reached out. And he saw that one tattoo right there that is Arabic and it means salam. And he said, why do you have that right there? And I said, because I come in peace. Assalamu alaikum. And he said, alaikum assalam. Because nobody had noticed that Quran sitting right there by his bunk. They were just reading the Bible to him. So that started a dialogue that helped us laugh a little bit, and talk a little bit, and develop a friendship. And it was all because he found himself in my story. So this is the story of my life. And what I tell people is, if you look close enough, you can find yourself in the story. You just got to look. So the other one, there's many, but these are the two that stand out. I was in Tijuana, Mexico, working with a buddy of mine, Jeff, Athletic Sports. We're working with real at-risk kids, soccer players down in the toughest part of Tijuana, which is now the most dangerous city in the world. Cartels run everything, and there's a fresh new cartel war, so nobody's going down there, no tourism. And so, but we, worked because of Jeff's work with Athletics. He had the right connections where we got word to the cartels what we were doing. They told us that we'd be okay. But anyway, we wanted to have this this party on this field, this soccer field, in the middle of just cartel hell. Two rival factions, this soccer field in the middle, it's just dirt, no grass. And that's where some of the kids would practice. And so we wanted to transform that spot into just a kids, music, games, food, fun, and just kind of light up that community through the youth. But down there, you don't dare do that unless you get the blessing of whoever's in charge. So we figured out who was in charge, a young guy named Chaba. And he ran that whole, he's a cartel soldier, he runs that little area down there, poor, rough, dangerous area. And we set up a meeting and we met on a dusty field. And it was like a Western. He came out and I came out with my interpreter, and when we met in the middle of that field, he couldn't speak English, I couldn't speak Spanish, but we had an interpreter named Jesus, so we had Jesus with us. So anyway, so I started to respectfully, tell him why I was there, who I was, what we were trying to do, and to see if he would give us his blessing and really just get the benefit. We give him the credit for feeding his community and doing some cool things for the families there. And so as I was talking, he began to look at my arm, and he found himself right there. And it says paz, just simply peace in Spanish. And he goes, what's that? And I said, peace. I said, I come in peace. And he looked at me, kind of nodded. I looked down at his and I said, what's yours? And he said, Lupita. And I said, who's Lupita? And he pointed over, and sitting down against the wall over there was his fiance. And so I said, Lupita. So then we started talking about, we just, again, we did, a little gangster hug, and we started asking for his help. The next day we filled the field with kids and music and laughter and fun, and he sat over there and he felt noble. And so I went over, we gave him some tacos and thanked him. And the next month I came back to see him again, and he got locked up, murder charge, 40 years at La Mesa prison, where we have some inmates that have gone through Pop 2 at that prison. So I could tell you more, but for me, it's a connecting point. It's a conversation starter, and I've seen people that hate tattoos that pretty much they endure this one because it's got a message, and it's all about the power of peace and trying to become all things to all men in order to win some. So next time you see a tattoo, if you don't like them and you start to hate on it, remember it might mean something special to the person who's wearing it. And then if you choose not to, awesome. Your life is your message. Just figure out how you want to broadcast it. But sometimes, this also gives me some credibility, to tell you the truth, because they don't just size me up and think they know. It kind of makes them think for a second. So anyway, keep the comments coming. Kids Q&A. I'll come up with something tomorrow. We'll do it again. So until then, be the peace that you wish to see in the world. Until then, peace out.